In the previous segment, you mentioned the theme of barbarism versus civilization. Can you expand on that concept?
There is a lot of evidence that Robert E. Howard thought very deeply about the fall of Rome. He had a fondness for the Pictish tribes who lived in the British Isles in ancient times when this region was under Roman control. And one of Howard's lesser-known protagonists, Bran MacMorran, appeared in a number of these tales as a Pictish king. And these stories featured skirmishes between the Roman legions and this pre-Celtic barbarian horde that was fighting for its survival. And that clash of civilizations that Howard depicted in these tales allowed him to explore this theme artistically. And these stories are eloquent meditations on the subject of barbarism.
Can you shed some light on the debate that Robert E. Howard had with his colleagues on the subject?
In the 1930s, there was a fascinating correspondence between Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft, and these two literary giants exchanged letters for a few years. And they talked about a number of topics, but most significantly, they had an ongoing debate about the subject of barbarism versus civilization. And their lively discussion on this topic was at times poetic and at times it was bitter. And I think that that contention came from the fact that these two men had lived very different lives. Lovecraft was more of an intellectual, and Howard had lived a very colorful life. He had experienced the harshness of the world living in a frontier town in Texas.
Can you summarize Howard's argument?
I think that Howard was very disenchanted with the developmental phase of civilization. And I think that he felt that way because he had seen oil profiteers pouring into his town to exploit the land. And so he saw civilization as being corrupt. And he saw barbarism as a calcinating fire that purges away the dross of that corruption. Because from Howard's point of view, the fringe barbarian is driven by the instinct of group survival, while the civilized man is motivated by personal greed.
And what was H.P. Lovecraft's response?
H.P. Lovecraft was totally opposed to Howard's position. Lovecraft saw civilization as an exalted state that created the peaceful living conditions that would allow man to fully develop his higher faculties, to appreciate things like the arts and sciences. Lovecraft saw barbarism as being reprehensible, and he accused Howard of romanticizing barbarism.